Good afternoon. This is the Philosopher's Poet. I'm here with Adriano, music producer, jazz musician. I'm going to say social justice advocate through his creative projects and endeavors, writer and producer, and you support and oversee a number of projects around creative industries. And you have some ties I've seen. So with a lot of I've seen a tie of, is it a reggae group you're
Yeah,
part of? Yeah.
yeah.
And also you've got affiliates with UB40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Played
Okay.
sax with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would like to dig into a bit more about your craft and your background. You're definitely, from when we last spoke, very like socially aware, socially conscious. I think that's a real big aspect of your sort of passion. I remember meeting you last year at the Blactionary event in November, and we had like a brief conversation. Obviously, certainly you were interested in what they were talking about in terms of equity and equality and racial diversity and what multiculturalism brings to society. I remember a significant, quite a poignant thing being about yourself and your own background. I'm not going to speak on behalf of you. I think you could probably speak more on it yourself in terms of how you became who you are today and how you see yourself through your creativity, feeding people's souls, giving back to society and people, empowering them through your work. I often say creativity speaks to the soul, and numbers speak to the mind. So,
I like that.
and lastly, actually, I just want to emphasize the key point in your Instagram profile, which is people over profit.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you never quite know what to write, as in like what I'm thinking and how to put it in writing. I think I say it better when I play music. But try and write some little things,
Mm.
Try and share some things that I see that I think is important to know.
Mm.
Sometimes you never know if you actually putting anything out actually is worth putting out, but I think what you noticing it kind of does actually reinforce the fact that it's worth putting stuff out.
Mm.
Um, where can I start with? Yeah, I mean, how can I? Where can I start with me? Yeah, as a musician, really, That's how I make my living. So one has to keep doing that, which is great, and it's very lucky to do that.
Mm.
Lucky to play with UB40, who have always been a very social conscious group, which I think is kind of like I'm happy that I'm playing with them
Mm.
as opposed to another big group who is possibly has been less vocal about stuff in
Yeah.
their career, which is great. Traveled the world with them, it's fantastic. Learned a lot being with them and and meeting going to different places. It's
Mm.
fantastic. You always end up realizing that people all around the world are the same kind of people as you meet here
Mm.
or anywhere you are. Yeah. What else can I say about?
I think it's interesting because I remember UB40 as a kid. My mum used to play a couple of their tracks. Showing my age a little bit here. The reggae and the sort of ska influence was profound, and so I think if anything, it speaks of sort of the integration of sort of, I'm going to say, British and sort of Caribbean culture. So it was almost seen as sort of a symbol of sort of multiple or two or more communities coming together in a respect for that culture, in spite of obviously history and some of the more dark parts of it. That's the one thing I would take away from that in terms of UB40. Certainly, I'm not a massive fan, but the few tracks I've learned and the research I actually did before coming today. So, I guess first off, you're sort of talking about your choice. You work and play with them. Um, how was that driven by you? Because obviously before that, you before you became a musician, you were sort of trying to understand how you wanted to give to the world, or what path you wanted to take. Music, was that something you were just gifted with as a child? Something you grew up with? What were your influences?
Yeah, I definitely was gifted with music. The gift of having two parents who did music, that's a great gift.
Okay.
So I was around music a lot. And I think they also instilled in me of practicing
Mm.
just by them doing it without necessarily being forced to do it, because you always hear them playing. So you subliminally, you end up doing it. I mean, some children might have parents who do music, but they decide to go somewhere else, but I kind of was plunged into it, and my school was very music orientated. Lots of free lessons. It was the 80s, so late 80s. So it was the old GLC turning into the ILEA. Ken Livingstone was
Yeah.
part of the GLC, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were very, very, there was a lot more money in some schools anyway, state school. We got free lessons of everything. So that definitely helped. That shaped me musically. Um, I think my parents, my family shaped me socially as well when it comes to my values, I'd
Mm.
say, very say putting a label to something is quite difficult sometimes, but very, I'd say, socialist in a way, quite
Okay.
socialist,
Yeah.
leaning on the left. My mum's values were very, she's Italian, but she's not a stereotypical Italian
Okay.
where you get the stereotypical Italians where you meet people, oh, right, yeah, you go to church, this, that, and the other, the
Mm.
old stereotype. She was very much not like that,
Mm.
you know. So she was is very anti-conformist,
Okay.
much more then than now.
Okay.
I think as you get older, you kind of you've done your battles, and now you
Mm.
want to be a little bit less. Not that she conforms, but you've done your battles. You leave it to the younger generation to do, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly.
So I learned a lot from my mum, her side of the family, even my dad's side of the family. They
Okay.
were Spanish, and a lot of them were against the dictatorship, the Franco dictatorship. They were. So I think all of that went molded into what I am.
Yeah.
Um, and the friends that I had, I'd say, or the friends that I chose to have, I'd say, it ends up molding you, doesn't it?
Oh, certainly. I feel like when we experience true freedom through what we love to do, we also have the option of choosing who to create a stronger bond with as a friend, and who to set certain boundaries with. Because the people we love in life, we will continue to love. It's just whether they are with us emotionally and spiritually, otherwise, on our journey, or they have another path that they need to take, which is totally normal, or whether our values tend to not align anymore. But obviously, being someone you love, you'd still support them from a distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You do end up well, I've noticed as in my 20s, there were friends from my teens.
Mm.
In my 20s, I still love them and they're friends, but you don't see them as much,
Of course.
but they're still like your brother, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, and then yeah, you do end up going into like what you said, basically. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, what else can I say about I think I was very it's very caring for other people for a long
Mm.
time. You end up putting yourself first before others, which is cool. But sometimes you have to, it sounds very selfish, but sometimes to actually to get what you need for yourself, you need to put yourself first before others. Not step on people,
Of
but
course.
not, I might have back in the day found myself always running around to help friends of mine.
Yeah.
Can you help me move house? Can you
Mhm.
do this? Can you do that? And obviously they will do the same for you.
Of course.
but I think sometimes you need to have a little bit more focus in your life, um, for to achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah, no,
You
no,
know,
totally.
you,
I think we should probably define, because you said selfish. I think maybe it's the wrong word. It requires like defining, because obviously, if it were really selfish, it would be disregarding people's needs. But I think the idea of you understanding your own needs and then having friends who reciprocate that because they have their own needs as well and doing things for the right reason, that's the difference between saying, I need time to myself and I need time to give to others close to me. I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's just what the means is. So I wouldn't say selfish. Always hear people when they say that, they always say I had to be a bit selfish. And I'm like, define that because that really dictate whether it's selfish or you're just taking care of yourself.
mm,
Remember that we can't actually take care of other people. We can't take care of ourselves. And
yeah,
let us be the judge of that. Others might be able to tell, but we will truly know whether we do something that's selfish or where all we're doing is taking care of ourselves so we can take care of others when they need. It's an interesting scales.
yeah. Selfish might be a perception of us of ourselves
Mm,
when
like,
we're doing less for someone that you might we might have done before.
mm.
Oh, I'm being selfish. Well, yeah, you probably not. You're right. The word selfish isn't quite right
It's like you
to
almost
use.
feel guilty.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But you
Mm.
know,
So was that obviously you sort of coming up and honing your craft and I guess understanding what you wanted to do with your talents, and you are very talented, I must say.
oh, thank you.
Um, how you wanted to use them, and I imagine obviously as a producer, music maker, player, obviously you got to make a living, you got to be able to express yourself as an artist as well. Um, you want to make people feel something just as you
Mm,
make yourself feel something as a obviously as a poet. But
mhm.
I've and I'll also say this: I've always been a little bit envious of musicians because I just feel they can do things in such a way I can't because I'm not that musically inclined. But I've sat in front of live jazz and I've written pages of poetry, just the experience. So I really appreciate it as another form of art.
Yeah, yeah. What's the saying when inspiration inspires inspiration, something like that. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
yeah.
Um, I think playing playing a lot of music is any music is good, and you any tune you play or for whatever you play is very important to put a bit yourself into it
Mm,
within the confines of the song
yes.
of the piece of music, and within the confines of the audience.
Mm,
So if you're playing to an audience which is very avant-garde, you can basically play whatever you want. If you're playing to an audience who is slightly more, they've got a mind more for, oh, I just want to hear this song
mm, of
because I know the song. I want to sing along to a song.
course.
You give them that flavor.
Mm,
But I think you just got to respect what it is that you're playing. The musicians say, play the song,
mm,
you know,
yeah.
which is very important. I think you definitely got to play the song.
You know what's so interesting about that? You play the song, I say, but at the same time, the same song doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. Between
Yeah.
their memory and life experiences and what they attach that song to, even if it's a seemingly negative experience, I think it's more representative of the human condition or the human experience. Um, and some people might want to tap into that, both positive and less positive experience in their lives, because maybe the music was almost therapeutic at that point in
Yeah.
time, you
Yeah.
know.
I actually did it. I was doing karaoke the other day with my girlfriend, and I remember I brought up a song which I loved. The song I started singing the song first time I'd sang it, and I actually read the words. And halfway through, I stopped. I stopped the song. I was like, you know what? These words, they don't. They're not really part of my energy anymore. Even though I loved the song, and I
Yeah,
was, and the person I was with, I was like, okay, wicked. I love this song. I'm going to sing it. And then halfway through, I was like, yeah, this song now. Let's not do this song because the energy changed. Even though I loved the song,
yeah,
the energy in the room changed. So it was like even though I listen to that song and I still love it and it brings back memories, me singing it now would be not really into singing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I see. It doesn't feel the same way. It hasn't got the same essence.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 That is so interesting because it's almost like saying that even something, a song, and the memory behind it invoked such strong feelings at one point. But if you've changed, whether you've evolved or whatsoever, um, then maybe it doesn't have the same feelings simply because the emotion behind that song has transmuted or changed into something else or moved on to something else. So suddenly you find yourself listening to something that might actually be beautiful and really capture your attention on a sort of material scale, but emotionally it doesn't do anything for you. It's like the difference between, I guess, going to a club and there's high energy tempoed
Yeah.
dance to something and then listening to something at home if you really want to contemplate on it. I'm not saying that one is useless. They both serve a purpose.
For the moment, it depends on this. Every song has its occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just chose the wrong song for that occasion, isn't it?
I mean, all the right song because it made you realize something about
Okay,
yourself.
yes, yes. There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Positive spin on that. Yeah,
Mm,
chose the right song to make me. Yes, very
yeah.
good. Very good.
Mm,
That's cool, man. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Well, writing music as well is that's a that's a very therapeutic thing for me to do. Write music. It's probably like you writing poetry.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, playing saxophone is something that I've done for so long, like 30 years,
Mm,
or,
wow.
performing, I've done it for so long. Writing music and releasing it I've been doing it, writing it for about 12 years, started releasing it a couple of years ago. I think that's more therapeutic for me than to play at the
Okay.
moment because I'm putting myself into every song that I write. Some of them have lyrics,
Yeah.
some of them I write the lyrics, some of them I have other people writing lyrics with me. So the therapy of writing the music's great, and I get to say what I want with
Of
it.
course. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so socially, what I will say, what I put out is more leans towards me a little bit more,
Okay.
as opposed to maybe performing songs.
Mm,
They're not personally me.
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So um, I think as a musician, I think you just got to wear a lot of different hats.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, the writing, then the music channel that I run, that's quite inspiring. That is
uh,
for, what did you say?
nothing. I was going to
Okay,
say,
okay.
tell us more about that actually, the music
The
channel.
music channel is it's inspiring. We just bring artists in who are independent artists, most of them. And they get to do their original songs and we film them, record them, we put it out on the channel. And we do a couple of songs, one's in 360.
Okay.
So you can watch it all around, you can move the camera around, wear 360 goggles.
Wow.
That's pretty good. That is, I think that's there's a lot of people are getting into 360 now, video gaming as well.
Mm,
People are doing it, aren't they? That's a good channel. That is, I quite enjoy doing that. It's got me better at my. It takes a lot of work. So there's a lot of organising.
mm,
You can't take your foot off the gas with that for about 4 days. If you do after 4 days, you've got to jump back on it.
mm.
So yeah, um,
I think this is a little naive for me, maybe, but the thought of, obviously as a musician, you obviously performing, and then obviously when you're writing songs and you're talking about certain times you perform, or certain songs you write, whether they have lyrics or not, mean more to you sometimes than some of the performances. And it's even within the creative industry having to wear obviously a mask, because obviously it's both a product and a piece of your soul. So it's sort of like treat it delicately. I understand that that's part of the current world we live in now. Obviously we need to materially live as well as thrive as emotional human beings. Um, and I guess treading the line between the mask uh, of who you're represented to be in an industry versus who you are as a musician. How do you navigate that?
I think you got to be yourself. I definitely think being the less personal I take my music,
Mm,
the better it is. Doesn't mean I'm just writing music, which I don't believe in,
of course.
but the less, it's almost like you've written the music, you let it go. Then
Mm,
it's not like, oh, this is I'm going to hold on to this piece of music. It's like, okay, you've written it,
mm,
it's done now. Now move on. It's a bit like you know going back to when you help people. If you're helping someone, you're emotionally involved with helping that person,
of course.
very emotionally involved.
Mm,
Sometimes it's more hindrance than help, because you're getting really involved with trying to help them. It becomes so much. You get caught up in it,
mm,
and you're not helping someone from a distance. So it's the same with when you're doing with me. If I'm writing music, I'm not looking at it too much in a very personal way. It's You've written it, and at the time, in that very moment, you've channeled it, and it is personal.
yeah.
Anything you do, you've been channeling it. It's done, and it's not just, oh, that's at the moment. My inspiration just came from that. I mean, all your inspiration comes from all the hours, the days, the years of time you've done just doing music, but also just being who you are and being around people.
Mm, mm,
So once that's done, that seed has been, or the tune's been written. I think the less personal you take the song or whatever brand you're putting out, the better for me, the better I would work with that
yeah.
piece of,
Yeah.
because it is a job, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a business. You can think of it as a business. I mean, when you work for other people, you're not really taking it that personally working for people. You're just trying to get it done. And then when you step back, then maybe one can look at it personally and go, oh, that was amazing what we all did, or
Mm,
what we've managed to achieve.
yeah.
But when you're in it,
I think conversely, I was thinking about that issue of taking things personally. And for me, you made me think about times in my job where it's having to step back, but the stepping back allows me to step out of taking anything personal because I know it's not, and being secure on yourself. If it's personal, then it shouldn't be in the workplace, or if it is a mistake or something, then you're aware, obviously, of the idea of forgiveness and development and understanding that in a healing way, because we're human beings, we're not robots. I think unintentionally or intentionally, you've actually said something really interesting. You've talked about through the idea of creation or of music, and then obviously self acceptance and moving on, but obviously recognizing, acknowledging the feeling within that piece of work or that life you breathed into, whether it's through words or through notes or through the lick of a paintbrush. It's the understanding of non-attachment. Um, and it's so funny because we practice it in various areas of our lives, but we don't practice it universally. It's like saying you can non-attach from certain thought forms that we have in the past and from a poem or a piece of music. How often do we realize that in the broader sense and say, can we do that with people?
right,
Yeah.
what non-attachment with people? You mean?
Yeah. In the sense of, I'm not saying we deny how we feel, but
Yeah,
non attachment in the sense of we do something for the sake of doing something and we don't have any expectation of that person to return the favor.
yeah,
Or if we have an experience with someone, we can acknowledge how we felt and acknowledge the authenticity of those feelings, but it doesn't consume us. We can put it aside, but we don't disregard those feelings. But that also enables us to have a dialogue with that person about the experience, and move on if necessary, um, with or without them.
yeah. The first thing is when you do something for someone, you're doing it because you want to do it for someone.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
never do it because, oh, if I do this for you, one day you're going to do it for me. It's like, yeah. ish. You
Mm.
just do it. You do something because you want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a reciprocation thing, which is cool. I mean, as a friendship thing goes, if you do something for someone and you're constantly doing stuff for someone and they never reciprocate, not in the same way,
Of course.
you know, you might be very good at, let's do something like, you might be really good at putting shelves up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to do that for someone. They might be rubbish at putting shelves up. So they're not going to come to your place and put your shelves up because they can't do it. But they might reciprocate one day because they might be really good at, I don't know, uh, changing the tire on,
Yeah.
or a really good mechanic. You
Yeah.
know, so I think when you're doing stuff for someone, you want to do it because you like doing stuff.
Yeah. I'm just gonna let you know I'm crap at all those things. So.
That's not a one. Listen, I'll pay for everything, so you know you can help me. I won't help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I think taking things as less personally as possible in life at everything you do is a great skill.
Mm.
I mean, trying not to take offense to stuff is fantastic. I mean, if you can, you know, I mean,
Mm.
some people are luckier than others that they don't won't take offense just due to whatever they've got, whatever's going on. But just be kind, and it will come back to you.
Yeah. Definitely.
If whether it's from the same person from somebody else.
Mm.
But again, you just put yourself first
Yeah.
in an unselfish way, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Certainly.
put yeah. So keep yourself sane and healthy.
Mm. In the purest sense of the word, and I know we don't always, you might not apply this all the time in life when people ask you about why you play, but in the purest sense of the word, if you were speaking to yourself, Adriano speaks to Adriano, why do you play in the highest sense of self? Why do you play? Why do you perform? Why do you write? Why do you create?
I think I'll get very sad if I don't do it.
Okay.
I mean, I've tried not playing, and I get restless. I've tried not creating stuff or not playing music, and then I find that I just I just find that there's something gets missing in my life from not doing it. I'm sure. Let's say I became deaf,
Mm.
yeah, or there's nothing I could do with music. I think finding some creative outlet for me would be important. And
Okay.
music is a very easy creative outlet for me, and it's very natural for me because I've been doing it for so long.
Mm.
And there's always something that I can do with music, and it's also, and as the years have gone by, which are not many, um, on the grand scheme of things, yeah,
Mm.
um, the joy that it brings people,
Mm.
and especially the last couple of years, I've realised that what makes me happy playing music is what I've just said, where, you know, I just feel empty if I don't do it. But then when I play music and there's people listening,
Mm.
they love it so much. Even if what I'm playing I don't think is very good,
Mm.
to them they're like, that makes me feel so happy.
Yeah.
So not only does it make me happy, it makes other people listening who aren't as lucky as me to be able to do music.
Mm.
It makes them feel something and be happy. So there's two reasons I do music: for myself and because others really enjoy it and it gives them an amazing feeling.
So speaking and healing yourself whilst helping others speak to themselves and heal themselves. Because that's how I read it, because you make them feel something. And you know what? We'd be surprised how many people, including myself or everyone, struggles to feel something some days in this current
Mm.
world and current climate. That's such an important thing. It's a start with self connection. How does that make you feel? You know, um, that's an amazing gift to give to others. It's
Yeah.
understated.
We can go numb sometimes when we struggle to feel anything.
Mm.
Sometimes we make ourselves struggle to feel anything just so that we don't feel misery or sadness. You know,
Mm.
we make ourselves just become slightly numb,
Yeah.
muted. You know, so if there's anything that we can do to make ourselves feel happier
Mm.
in a sane way, that is, you know,
Mm.
in a healthy way,
Yeah.
then definitely, I think, well, if music's one of them. That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah. Some people have the luxury of doing something they love for their work, and it's not necessarily driven by money. It's because they care or about what they do, whatever that might be. But for many people, that's not the
Hmm.
case. It's a means to an end. And we either get crushed by that, or we think about the other things that we're doing through working as a means to an end, supporting friends, family, the little ways in which we help people grow who we manage or work with, those little conversations in the break room or helping people understand their own potential, those are the little victories. I say little, but really they're big victories because they're unspoken and they're silent, but their impact is significant. It's just it all happens on the inside.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The little chats, little pep talks, isn't it?
Mm,
Yeah, the little chats in the mundane days or in the mundane time, isn't it?
yeah.
Is mundane the right word or?
You can use that word. I think it's all right. I know some people might say it sounds negative, but we're defining the context. So you can say mundane, normal,
Yeah, in a
everyday.
normal, in an everyday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lucky that I do a job that I like.
Mm.
There's aspects of it I don't like.
I think that's like everything.
Yeah, what aspects that you don't like?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's more aspects of what I like about my job
Mm.
than what I don't like.
Yeah.
Hasn't always been like that, but at the moment it is, which is great. Um, but yeah, the more people you touch and they make you feel something back, isn't it?
Mm.
You know, what you say to them, what they say to you. It's conversations every day.
Yeah.
You know, little. They always give you a gift, and you give them a gift, or they'll just give you a gift, and you're very lucky, isn't it?
Mm.
I mean,
Was there like any particular poignant moments in your career that really were either turning points or just lit something up? Like when you realize, wow, um, if someone spoke to you about something you composed or and about how it made them feel personally. I mean, was anything like that? It doesn't have to be that, but I'm sure there are a few milestones along the way that help you be like, oh, hang on, I want to change this, or I want to do that, or now I'm going to start collaborating more, or there's plenty of talented musicians and writers as well. So I don't know, did you see something like a fire in the belly of some others, and you were like, I want to, oh, we should help each other, and
yeah, I mean, there's so many. I'm just thinking from day dot. I think one there was my teacher Ian Carl.
hmm,
He's a guy that used to work at a place called Weekends Arts College. It's in Camden Town. It's a charity.
okay,
Fantastic, great place. As a place for dancers, singers, anyone performing.
hmm,
It's a charity, 50p a class.
wow,
Yeah, yeah. It's a Weekends Arts College at the old Interchange Studios. It's moved now. That was fantastic. Great teachers there. He always said to me, um, I always remember I was just playing sax learning. He said to me, "You're going to be a band leader one day. You know, he said, lead the band today, or do this, do that." So he'd always tell me, you'll be a great band leader."
okay,
So that was like, okay,
hmm,
you think of it that way. But anyway, cool. Then there's other people that I've met. Um, there's so many people you meet along the way. It's not even musicians, like my uncle, for example.
okay,
His hard work ethic and his what he used to say to me with when it comes to just his beliefs in not being a I don't know if it's not being a bum. It's not. I don't like that term. Is it?
what?
Yeah, I don't like that term at all. But it's more like, you've always got to do something. He
Yeah,
was saying to me, if you're not doing anything, it's
hmm,
he would. I don't think he would even say it. Just by what he was doing, I
hmm,
would learn. I would just get inspired a lot by him.
okay,
Still do actually.
hmm,
He's kind of non-stop. He was a decorator, but he was
okay,
very handy at a lot of stuff.
yeah. I guess it's sort of do something as in make yourself feel alive, maybe. I don't, perhaps it was just to do with agency, Um, yeah, I can't obviously speak for your uncle, but it speaks more to um, acting, taking action. Not. Yeah. I mean, even when we're doing seemingly nothing, we are taking some sort of action, in the sense
Yeah,
of there's a time for like introspection when to the world it seems we're doing nothing, but inside the amount of processing we're doing of thoughts and emotions, thinking, planning, that probably is so understated. I think part of the method of madness of creativity, it's like an iceberg. What your performances are on the surface, then you have you playing for yourself in your own time. Then there's what goes on in your head and in your heart about, how do I feel about X or Y, or maybe it's contemplating on a particular piece, and and whether that's technically saying is it right, or you asking yourself, what does it communicate? That's
yeah. I mean, when you said icebergs, like I mean, got iceberg. There's only the whatever's on the whatever you see. There's the out underneath is even bigger, isn't it?
mm,
So yeah, a fine line between and also doing. There is an art in doing nothing,
yeah,
in it.
mm,
But then one has to know whatever you're when you're doing nothing. There's a reason why you're doing nothing.
mm, yeah,
There's even a purpose of doing nothing, isn't there?
yeah.
So
I mean, even rest is purposeful, even though we live in a world where productivity is king. But when they define productivity, it's almost they've created a moral value for being ultra productive, when productivity, in many respects, has nothing to do with values. It's more to do with um, the economy. And what does it mean to be a productive member of society? I think that really needs to be questioned. Does that really
absolutely,
define your value, or your well-being? You see that there's something intrinsically flawed with.
especially the way it's been
Yes,
taught to us
yeah,
as a like, productive member of society means you're giving money to somebody else, isn't it? You're
yeah,
making helping someone else make a lot of money,
yeah,
ish kind of thing.
mm,
Yeah, I think that's the way we're told that. But the productive member of society is someone who's actually helps people. Is someone who isn't just about themselves, isn't it? Do you know
mm,
what I mean? But
yeah,
I think the way it's been taught is almost like 9 to 5, or you got to give back to. Thought about it in my head, but putting it out and saying it is more difficult, isn't it? To say productive member of society depends who's saying,
mm,
depends who how you want to interpret productive member of society.
yeah. Is it? Some people might say it's because you're supporting the economy, you're creating jobs. When those aren't bad things. Creating jobs is a good thing. I think more holistically, it's the understanding that not everything that makes money or is it counts towards productivity as counted in the realm of economics is productive, in the sense of, does it help us become better human beings?
No, I don't think a lot of the time it does. Basically,
Mm,
there's a lot more things you can do which will make you a better human being. But they dot you need it's survival though, isn't it?
yeah, it's sort of a balance between being practical and surviving, so that you have enough time and room to help you, in other areas of your life, to grow. So, and that it's that balance in an imperfect society, in an imperfect governance system. Um, and when I say that, I very well mean that obviously the current way in which the world works could crumble and something else could come along. That's just the way civilizations work. It's the fact that we're fine tuning things within an imperfect society and not allowing ourselves to think outside the box of how we can shape society. No system is going to be perfect, but there should be step changes. There should be, due thought to what it means to allow someone to contribute towards society, whether it's helping people make a living, afford food, provide relational value in terms of socially in terms of a feeling of belonging, but at the same time give people their agency to develop ideas that aren't necessarily the same as everyone else in a non-judgmental manner, and consider the needs that people have above and beyond a 9 to 5, in the sense that people still need to exercise their intellect, their emotions, and understand themselves from a spiritual nature, whatever that might mean to that person. It is a balancing act and it waxes and wanes. I think the extreme pylon in productivity around, I mean, we've heard certain people who are billionaires and such talk about working 17-hour weeks. I mean, come on, like, that's what I meant. Or really on the extreme end, like,
Hmm.
you know,
Wasn't there a 4 hour week book that came out about 10 years ago? The four
yes,
hour week.
yeah. I mean, if you can do that, that's amazing. But
I think if you, some people are born into that, they
yes,
can
exactly. That's
exactly.
what I mean. Like, very few people have the luxury of doing that. And it's funny how it works in the sense of it's not, I mean, obviously, the waning logic, certainly of my parents, was that obviously, if you're up there and you're a billionaire or you're that far up in the echelons of society, that it means more work. But I think it's the opposite at a certain point, because you you know if money makes money, then you just sit on a
Yeah,
huge pile of money and it makes you
you're
your
living
money
off
in
the
the
interest,
first
isn't it?
place. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's, yeah, but that might have been a something that certainly the last generation had thought, because of the model, the idea of a bulging middle class, and the idea of work hard and you can have a sustainable income and own a house. Obviously, that's
Kind of gone out the window now, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that has gone out the window. Yeah. To say about that, it's like
I think all we can do is keep doing what we're doing if it helps others grow and they decide on their own what path is best to take based on them connecting with themselves to understand what's in the best interests of my authenticity and ability to love myself and others, and at the same time what's required practically to eat and to put a roof over my head. Whether the system's fair or equitable, there's loads of questions, because I wouldn't say it was.
right.
But I think at a grassroots level, again, all we can do is keep doing what we do because we care and because we wish to do those things. There's a desire. Um, Changing people's minds is not about force, it's just about dialogue, and people have the right to agree and disagree. But if seeds are planted, then they at least have the choice to change mind or reconsider, in the same way you and I do as part of our own evolution. I think that's the point of healthy societies.
I think the system is now basically making people work harder for less,
Mm,
and it stops them from having time to think about other stuff.
yeah.
So, in a way, it's harder now for people. Well, in in the UK, that's where we live, isn't it?
Mm,
Um, it's probably harder now than maybe. I mean, I had this conversation the other day, and someone said, You're kind of chatting a bit of rubbish here," but it's probably harder now for people to have more time to basically express themselves or have more freedom because there's less money about.
yeah,
So there's much more concern with where the next bit of money's coming in.
of course.
And then there's a lot more, the way the press has been going, there's probably a lot more blaming. There's always been blaming and
Mm,
scapegoating. It's always been that. But it seems to me that everyone is trying to scapegoat the person who's less well off
yeah.
than the people at the top.
Mm,
So there's a lot more, there seems to be a lot more fear and hate happening.
mm,
I don't know if that's true because it's, from my perspective, it might be that way, but I'm not sure. But there is a much more of a a blaming,
mm.
which I've always noticed. But back then there was a bit more money about. Some
Yeah,
people had more time to kind of think, yeah, I'm not really into that, you know?
I feel like people might have had a difference of opinion or biases before. We always do as human beings, but I think the scarcity, the increased scarcity of money and the like, has just brought it out that which people held inside. Because I think the issue is with civil societies is that and government is that we're at a point in time where governments aren't invested in helping people be educated about themselves. Um, or self-expression. Policies are short-term in government administrations, and they're more about tolerating something rather than meaningful change. Unfortunately, because I think that's the consequence of career politics or career politicians. Meaningful change takes time and resource and money. That
Does the system want meaningful change though?
exactly. That's a very good question. Yeah, yeah,
It's like, I mean, people want meaningful change,
yeah,
but the system is quite happy not to have meaningful change because then they can keep what they've got, keep the status quo the way it is.
mm,
And no one wants to relinquish any power or money or give up money or power or money to just to make the world a better place. You see it in, I've seen it in, when the South Africa, the or any place where you got the, let's say, the white landowners,
mm,
they don't want to give up their land,
of course.
and it's everywhere you see that. They don't want to give up the land. However much there's a lot of talk about doing it, talk, they still don't want to give it up.
Yeah,
So anywhere around the world, whoever's got money doesn't really want to give up the money for a fairer society because they think they're going to get hard done by. It's
mm,
not going to be fair for them anymore.
yeah. And that's a qualifier for them. It's always conditional. It's like conditional love versus unconditional love, which isn't it is something I guess humanity wishes to attain in a naive way, thinking it's naive, but it's something that is wholly desirable, and I think it's something that we should work towards for an infinite, maybe perhaps an infinite number of generations trying to get there. But nevertheless, it remains the aspiration. Um, so we have governments who have educated in various aspects of academia, but the one thing lacking, I guess, is values compassion and empathy as values EQ or whatever in terms of leaders.
I mean, academia is all right, but I mean, if you're not taught the right things, you can be as intelligent as you want to be, but you're still going to be ignorant.
Mm,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. Um, it's almost as much about classism now as it's about culture wars and race and religion. And we've seen that with people who identify with cultural groups racially and culturally, but not necessarily from an economic or class perspective. So it's interesting. It's even more of an intricate web.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you think it's a bad thing now?
There's nothing wrong with coming from different classes. I think it's the idea of elitism or the idea of not being able to see different perspectives. It's almost like this idea of entitlement, that one should be able to lord over another simply because of a difference in class or in the class system. That's a problem I have. It all dictates down to values and empathy and compassion and wanting to understand people rather than dictating and imposing values without willing to see another perspective. This idea of betterment um, and seeing the mass population as, I don't know, mushrooms in the dark or something, or, you know, um,
Mushroom in the dark. What do you mean?
like seeing them as stupid
Oh,
or
okay. Okay.
in the dark, ignorant. And ignorance exists everywhere, but ignorance isn't the same as saying that stupidity. That's probably the wrong word to use to describe the masses. I would say there are varying levels of knowledge, but if that's the sole metric for how we value people's input in society, it's flawed, as I'll say again, in terms of not everyone's a scholar, but everyone can treat other people with value and they can understand things that harm people and don't harm people. And it also, when you think like that, it takes away from people's potential. How many people's potential has never really been explored within the constraints of their local circumstances
Yeah, for real.
or societal
Absolutely.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of potential doesn't get done, doesn't get um, fulfilled due to financial problems, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all the time you see it, isn't it?
Mm.
I'm lucky where I didn't have that problem really. That was a great thing, but um,
Yeah.
I think there's just got to be more support everywhere
Mm.
for youngsters and for everyone really. I think there's just a massive squeeze.
Mm.
Always has been, but the
Yeah.
squeeze has got even tighter now.
Yeah.
Um, there is money about.
Of course.
There's a lot of money about. It's just it gone up in the wrong hands,
Of course.
and
Yeah.
they don't want to give that money up.
Mm.
And they're trying to get everyone to blame the person who's poorer than them
Mm.
for the fact that it's the poorer person's fault that they don't have any money.
Or the person that doesn't look like them.
Yeah, basically, person doesn't look. Yeah, it's basically that's basically been going on for centuries, isn't it?
Mm.
Divide and conquer,
Yeah.
and we're still falling for it.
Yeah.
But they should teach that at school.
Yeah. They.
If they teach the art of deception at school and how the powers that be deceive you, I think within a generation, things would change.
Mm.
It's just basically what is what they want to teach us, and
Yeah.
they have the power to teach because they've got all the communication.
Mm.
You know, if the newspapers came up with better stuff, TV came up with some better stuff, we would be probably in a better place.
Yeah.
Well, most of us would
Well.
be.
Yeah.
Those in power probably would be in a slightly weaker place, but
Mm.
for the whole, it would probably be a better place.
Yeah. Boy. They. Yeah. No. This is. I like. I go with it. I think. Whatever happens when I talk to someone, or whatever's said needs to be said, and it happens in a roundabout or sort of kind of planned way. So, which I think is organic. So I think it. Yeah. That's really good. Okay. Well. You promised us a treat today as
Yeah,
well.
let's do a little bit of sax. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll play something. I was mixing a tune today for the version channel. Liz string a tune, this little piano and voice song. It's a really nice song. I'm not going to play that song, but the song inspired me to just work something out just before I came. I thought, oh, it'd be quite nice to play. So I'll just do a
Okay.
little inspired tune. Yeah.
Great.
Go. Shall I?
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that was great, man. That was great. Really intense. What's the name of that song?
Well, I made up this morning.
Oh wow.
So-
Okay.
I mean, you know what? The song that I was mixing is a song called Anger.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's based on the melody of that song, but there's not a lot of anger in that tune. It might have been intense, but it was quite an open, happy kind of song.
Mm.
Happy, open to suggestion. It was it's a more of an open song than something which is quiet.
Mm.
So yeah, it doesn't have a word, it doesn't have a song, it doesn't have a title.
Wow.
So the Philosopher's Song, how's that? Yeah.
Yeah, if you
All
want to
right,
call it
Philosopher's
that.
Song.
Anger. So,
It was based on a tune called Anger that I was
mm.
working on, but it's not. I don't think it's got that energy.
Okay. It doesn't feel angry, but what it might be is a calm after the storm.
Okay. Yes, because the words in that song that I was mixing, great, So definitely, it's the calm after the storm. Yeah, the calm after our chat as well, wasn't it?
Mm. So what comes to you when you now contemplate on that song that you wrote this morning? What are the first words that come to your head? I'm curious.
Um, Hope.
Okay.
I'd say that with that song because the melody's climbing upwards. The harmonies are pretty open harmony. It's a harmony that a lot of people would recognise as well.
Mm.
We'll just turn that up again. Yeah. Okay. So the melody and the harmony is something which is quite an open harmony. So yeah, hopefulness, happiness. I'd say with that. Morning, the feeling of something new.
Mm. It's so interesting because when you said morning, I misheard you. I thought morning.
Oh,
When you
not
said
morning.
morning,
Yeah, no, definitely no. I wasn't thinking morning. No.
but that it triggered something in me about that because I saw it as applicable for both. It's the morning after the dark, a long night's sleep, hibernation, a temporary death, or if you think about it, death and rebirth, and the morning as in you kind of compact all those feelings after the death of something that meant so much to you, and then you are reminiscing and remembering its impact on your life. And mourning sometimes it's a sad thing, it's a solemn thing, but it can also be a celebration of someone's life.
Mm,
Not just
mm.
someone, it could be anything that has died to you. It's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. You know what? Like we were saying, even this song, some people will see it as a sad song. Some people see it as a happy song. So it depends on what state of mind that person's in, isn't it?
Mm,
I mean, I've had people crying to the happiest song ever because it reminds them of something, isn't it?
mm,
And then while I might listen to a sad song, it might not do anything to me.
mm.
So yeah, I mean, we could be mourning the fact that I don't know. Yeah. How did it feel for you when I played it?
It For me, it feels very like relief. That's the word I was thinking in my
Yeah.
head. Relief.
It's so much easier sometimes to play sax than to talk. I
Mm,
find that maybe I don't know. Sometimes I find when I'm talking or when we're chatting, it's cool, but then the saxophone there's no, or when you're doing music or when you're doing any creation, there's no right or wrong with it. The only right or wrong might be in one's head, but then again, even with talking, like when I'm second guessing myself sometimes when I talk, whether what I'm saying have I actually thought it through properly, or am I just coming out with stuff which, thinking back to it, I'm like,
you're right. There is no right or wrong. And I suppose I would say almost like music is a higher form of communication because there's so many things we don't tell with the words that we speak, but there are many things that will come out of us, I guess, when you're composing because you can't escape from certain feelings, I guess, when you're playing, which is interesting. Um, yeah, don't know how you feel about that. The idea of you communicating through the saxophone is in a way telling a more authentic way of communication sometimes than speaking to someone.
I think it's easier for me to play sax than to talk, especially in a kind of like an environment when there's two microphones in front of us. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I mean, I think if one's just, there's less chance of offending people as well when I'm playing saxophone.
Mm.
Or saying stuff that I look back and think, nah, I don't know why I said that. I didn't make sense what I was saying. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Saxophone is like, or music is it's even though back in the day when you're first learning, it's much harder to actually to have that feeling of freedom with music. For me, it was because I was always second guessing myself musically.
Okay.
Like, oh, does this sound good? Is this right? It's not right or wrong, but is this right? Is this good enough? This, that, and the other. Now I don't feel that with music.
Okay.
Now I know that if it's everything you do is going to be good, and that's what I would tell people who just begin, whether it's music or anything else. Everything you do is fantastic and amazing. Don't second guess what you do. I mean, it's easier said than done because I second guess what I'm talking about a lot of the time. But when I used to teach, it would always be, don't second guess what you're doing. Whatever you do is going to be correct.
Mm.
Even if you know, especially when you're improvising or composing something, it is all correct.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong.
Mm.
When you're when you're reading music, there are certain rights or wrong. Well, you played the wrong note here. You're learning the tune. That's the wrong tune, wrong note. But even when you're getting it wrong, you're getting it right.
Mm.
Because by getting it wrong, you're learning from your mistakes, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's a lot to learn with. I think when I used to teach, I learned a lot teaching. Maybe I should start teaching again.
Maybe you should. I think you have a lot to give, not just about learning the art of playing, but maybe, there's even a sort of philosophy embedded within that I think maybe would be really good for you to pass on to people to consider.
I think so. I think when I used to teach, I used to get very emotionally involved with it. That's probably why I stopped.
Okay.
But I think now when you have a break, a bit older, you're like, okay, I can now teach without getting so emotionally involved with it.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think teaching's a great thing for people who are learning from you, but also for oneself to teach. It does it helps you put things into perspective a lot.
You actually gave me a brainwave when we were thinking about the idea of how it's easier to play than to talk to people or tell them something. And I almost had this idea of when you play music and people take it away with them and think about it, the reason why they might not be offended by you is because when they take it away and they think about it for themselves, it's almost like they themselves have to ask themselves that question rather than ask the musician the question about it. Do you see what I mean? It's like you've almost provided a layer of accountability to the individual, for the individual, by the individual, for themselves to speak to themselves about why something makes them feel a certain way. So you've made the audience not just the listener you've made them both a teacher and a student of themselves.
Right, I get you. Yeah, because you're not saying anything to them with words. You're just giving them a melody.
Yeah.
I did this mushroom ceremony a couple of years ago. Yeah. And obviously the mushrooms take you somewhere else. Yeah. But I had two people guiding me with this ceremony.
Yeah.
I don't do mushrooms a lot. I'm very weary of myself. So if I am going to do it, I would have to do it in a controlled way where I know that if I have a freak out, someone's going to take me out of it. So I haven't done it like socially for years. If I did, that would be microdosing. But even then, I haven't done it for time. Anyway, I did this ceremony and like they were putting me through. They were playing music and they were guiding me through my emotions with the music they were playing, with the smells I put around me, with the chanting they were doing. Yeah. So they were taking me intentionally. They were taking me on a journey of highs and lows. So I think with music, I suppose I could play a tune which will make someone be feel sad,
Mm.
or I could play a tune that might help someone feel happy,
Mm.
which is great. Well, great. It's a nice feeling that you can to have, to be able to give people those emotions. Sometimes I'm just playing a song because it's what I'm feeling myself, you know.
Mm.
So same with the words that you might do when you're doing your poetry. So what emotion are you going to give to these people,
Mm.
or what emotion do you feel when you do it,
Yeah.
and will these people feel the same emotion?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, this has been real, man. I've really enjoyed this conversation. We've
Likewise, mate.
taken it in ways which we I didn't first envision, but I'm glad we did. So yeah. Okay. Um, I'm gonna ask you to do a shout out for your social media so everyone can connect with you and listen to some of your music and get a greater feel for you. So feel free to just
Okay, well, I'm Adriano, aka Fluid Like Bruce. That's my artist name. You'll find me under Fluid Like Bruce on the socials, and got a couple of tunes out, which be more coming out soon. You'll also find me as Adriano Rossetti Bonnell, but you can follow the links from Fluid Like Bruce, and you'll hear me playing sax in other places. And yeah, that's me.
yeah. I'll also add that you can find him on Instagram. That might be the easiest way
Yeah.
for some people with all the links to all your other channels and pages on IG. Check them all out, and everyone knows me, the philosopher's poet. And I'm going to end by saying what I always say: the world spins with me, and also with you.
I like that.